There are all sorts of trains, trains that carry freight, trains that take people from place to place, trains that go fast, and trains that go slow. Some trains are pulled by diesel engines, others run on electricity. There's one thing they all do the same. They run on tracks. From the cab, the engine driver controls the whole train. It can be as long as a kilometre. That's 10 sports fields lined up end to end. And it can weigh around 1,500 tonnes, or as much as 1,000 cars. The train has powerful engines that can make it speed along the track as fast as a car on the highway. But unlike a car or truck or bike or a skateboard, if the train needs to stop, it can take a long time. And that's why we need to take care, extra special care, around trains. Trains and the people who work on them are always busy, shunting wagons, loading and unloading freight, taking passengers where they want to go. One of the places where trains are busiest is the railway yards. The people working there take extra special care. But wherever trains go, and wherever you're around trains, it's important that you too take extra special care. Even though engines make a lot of noise when they're getting going, once they're moving they can be very quiet. People working around trains have to use their ears and their eyes so they know when it's safe to cross the tracks. Out of the rail yards and on the main line, trains don't come by as often. Workers repairing the tracks keep themselves safe by placing detonators on the track further down the line. When a train runs over the detonators, they explode with a loud bang. And the train driver knows to slow down and keep a lookout for the workers. Detonators are dangerous things. When they explode, they have to be loud enough to be heard over the noise of the engine. But that doesn't mean trains are noisy all the time. It's like a car. We can see it long before we hear it coming. It's the same with an aeroplane. Even though its powerful engines make a whole lot of noise, we don't hear it when it's far away. And a train can approach very quietly. We'll see it long before we hear it. So when you're anywhere near the tracks, make sure you look as well as listen, especially when you're in a car. Some places where tracks cross the road have barrier arms that come down when a train is coming. Other places have flashing lights. But there are places where tracks cross the road or footpath that don't have lights, bells or barrier arms. You have to be absolutely sure there is no train coming before you cross the tracks. Look as well as listen. And that's the rule with places that you can walk across the tracks too. Check that it's safe to cross by looking and listening before you cross. Engines pull heavy loads, whether it's a freight train or a passenger train. Their loads can weigh around 1,500 tonnes. That's the same load as about 1,000 cars, and that's heavy. Even empty, a wagon weighs a lot, around about the same as 4 cars. But just like it's easy to push a car to get it moving, wagons are very easy to move. And once it's moving, the wagon keeps moving. That's to do with its weight and a force called inertia. And it means shunting engines just have to give wagons a little shove and send them down the tracks on their own. Because it's so heavy, once an engine starts moving, it's very hard to stop. It just runs over any small things in its way. Imagine what it would take to stop a whole train. It'd be like trying to stop a fast-moving car. You couldn't stop that very easily at all. And once a wagon or a whole train starts moving, it can't be stopped easily or quickly. When a train's travelling along, the driver has a lot to do, checking the engine gauges and dials, watching the speed and keeping an eye on the track, looking to see what's coming up ahead. If the driver puts the brakes on now, the train would not be able to stop by the time it got to the crossing. It's not because it's going fast, it's just very heavy. And that force called inertia makes it very hard to stop. Let's see exactly how long a train needs to stop. Let's say the top speed you can go on a bicycle is 25 kilometres an hour. If you had to stop suddenly, you'd take 2 seconds to stop. For a car moving at the same speed, from the time the driver hits the brakes to when it stops, it's taken 4 seconds, twice as long. For an engine moving at 25 kilometres an hour, it takes not 2 seconds, not 4 seconds, it takes the engine 10 seconds to come to a stop. That means for the engine to stop at the same place the bike stopped, the driver would have to hit the brakes when the engine is way back here. And that's when the train is travelling slowly. Imagine how long it would take to stop if it was going full speed with a full load of wagons. We've seen that trains are quiet, they're heavy, and they take a long time to stop. We know that trains run on tracks, so if you want to stay safe, the best idea is to stay away from the tracks. Railway tracks are just over 1 metre wide, but the trains are twice as wide. That means a train hangs over each side of the track by ½ metre, sometimes even more. So it's not enough just to be clear of the track. You have to make sure you stay well away. If you have to go near tracks, like if you're crossing them, be sure to use your eyes as well as your ears. If you're going somewhere by train, then there are some other good ideas for staying safe. Some trains get their power through overhead wires. There's a lot of electricity passing through these wires, so stay safe by keeping well away. Stay away from the edge of the platform. When trains pass through stations, they can make quite a big gust of wind, so keep right back, at least 1 metre back. Tracks are for trains and tunnels are for trains. Train tunnels aren't like road tunnels. There are no footpaths inside. If a train comes along, there is absolutely no room for people. If you're inside a tunnel, you have nowhere to go. It's the same with a train bridge. There are no footpaths, nowhere to go if a train should come along. So keep safe. Don't go where only trains are meant to be. So what do we know about trains and where they work? We know tracks are for trains. We know that trains are very quiet. You need to look out for them as well as listen for them. We know that trains can carry a lot of things, which makes them very heavy. And being heavy means that trains take a long time to stop, a very long time. And we also know a few rules for keeping safe around trains. Keep back at least 1 metre from the edge of the platform. Tunnels and bridges are for trains. There's only enough room for them. Trains have an important job to do. They take freight all around the country for people, and they take passengers where they want to go. We want to make sure that the trains keep doing their job while you stay safe when you're around them. So remember, tracks are for trains.